everybody. Welcome back to the Be There in 5 podcast. I'm Kate Kennedy, your host. I hope everyone's staying warm. I hope everyone's staying as sane as one can. I am sitting by my faux fireplace in my office wearing a Quince sweater, who I think is sponsoring this episode. Love an affordable cashmere sweater. It's like a turtleneck, and I'm doing an Olsen tuck, which basically means you put a turtleneck or a high collar over your head, but you don't pull your hair out all the way. But it's that messy bun thing where some people look artfully messy in ways that there's no way they pulled out a hair here and there, coiffed the undone look. They just simply exist that way. But then when you do it, you can't quite figure out the right amount of messy or undone to make it look like you didn't try. So anyway, that's where I'm at right now. It's also known as, 11-year-old wants to know what she'd look like with a bob. Next to the Martha Washington front hair flip done at Suburban Pools, I'd say it's one of the top 5 most notable hair tricks of my youth. I would say one is also realizing that you don't need to buy a topsy tail to be able to do a topsy tail, because your fingers arguably topsy your tail better than the topsy tail does. And it's just a plastic pick with a circle at the end. Speaking of things no one ever needed. Okay, so while I'm on writing hiatus, I've been picking out the episodes that I think deserve a second life, whether it's going back in the archives to resuscitate or mash up something or give you stuff from Patreon. And I have some other fun stuff planned. But this week, I wanted to hear from you about what you wanted to hear. And I should have known better. I was kind of expecting Mormon mommy bloggers or something. The verdict is in terms of your votes. And when the first couple rolled in, I was like, well, you guys are trying to sabotage me. And the one we're talking about today, I wasn't, if you know, you know. This is an episode that is such a point of contention for me, but also also is a source of joy and such an inside joke with the Beths that I also knew I had to do it. And something about this episode, over time, the idea of it really embarrasses me. But I guess I need to take you, let's walk through this. Okay, so I'll take you back to when this was. This was a trying time. And then when I say that, you're like, which one? We've been through a lot of trying times in the past several years. But specifically, this is a very unique point in time. The date is March 14th, 2020. The world is about to change as we know it. There's a lot we don't know. Everyone is freaking the fuck out. And social media is about to erupt into whodunit of finger-pointing, hot take giving, and general outrage toward anyone and everyone trying to go out for a St. Patrick's Day bar crawl. The vibe was very people are canceling weddings and funerals, bruh. You can't resist a craft cocktail bar in the name of, not overwhelming the healthcare system. Give us a break. This is when we all started turning on each other. We started fighting. Things were getting tense. This was still the phase of the pandemic. This was so early. We were mad at you if you had a mask. Because if you were harboring N95s away from first responders, this was the first iteration of people losing their minds, trying to cancel folks on the internet who had one-off PPE, being you should donate your one mask. Maybe, I don't know. Looking back on the drama of who was where, who was still traveling, who was or wasn't social distancing, right when a global pandemic was declared, thinking back on it, I feel I blocked so much of it out. I mean, except for Taza's disappearance. Where is Taza? I've been looking for her. People wanted me to do an Influencer Unsolved Mysteries about her, but I'm still hung up with the mystery of having a Scottish Highland cow in a suburban backyard, which I believe she did in Arizona. But other than that, I'm not really she kind of has fallen off the face of the earth. And I know people are interested in what she's up to. She did leave New York City during the lockdown, which was very controversial. And she kind of disappeared from there on out, right? That was the last straw. But what's crazy is back then, before COVID, the only thing you were really getting canceled for was using a plastic straw. So, buck up, Buttercup. There's more to come. Anyways, we don't need to get into COVID drama. That's the bleakest thing I could think of bringing up right now. But I do remember Turtle Creek Lane being in Bora Bora. I'm thinking, oh my God, being on the other side of the world, at that time would have genuinely felt scary. But also, are you keeping up with Turtle Creek Lane? Her house caught on fire the same night she went to the ER for the hospital. Last year, that helicopter crash. I don't know. Sometimes I'm stressed and I hope they're well. And I don't keep up with them like I once did when I was fascinated by the Seussical the Musical-esque holiday decor, because I just simply can't understand why anyone's inspired to decorate for something as uninspired as a commercial Easter aesthetic. It almost seems like Easter should tonally feel a little more similar to what happened, because that was a tough time for JC. And I think what WWJD in this case, if he were to commemorate Easter, is not Super Soaker's house with cartoon bunnies and pastel eggs. It just doesn't really feel proportionate to what happened to him. Anyway, I am stalling. I'm sure you were coming to the Be There in 5 podcast today to talk about Jesus. Actually, today this kind of works for us because we've already talked about the Father and the Son. And now we're going to talk about the Aioli Spirit. And how, as a mother to my son, I'm slightly horrified, delighted, confused. It's like, let me tell you what I wish I'd known when I was young and dreamed of glory. I actually did have control. I do have control of who lives, who dies, who tells my story, because I'm the one doing it. I'm choosing what to put on the record. I'm choosing what to cement on air. You know how when somebody passes, you want to know everything about them. You want to excavate their life. You wish you had more on the record. You know, like Taylor Swift, you would have saved every grocery receipt. But I think as you get older in general, whether in grief or just getting to know your parents or grandparents more, you just like want to know more about them and who they were before you. And so often you don't have access to that much information. Sometimes I think about, like, what if my son ever wants to know more about his mother, digs into the archives, and what if this is the first episode he hears? So March 14th, 2020. That weekend, I was like, okay, I'll do a second episode this week. I got time to kill. I'm going to do a bonus episode. What can we talk about? What would take your mind off of things? And I think I brought it up on Instagram somehow. What's like the most asinine like thing we could talk about endlessly in the Be There in 5 podcast style that like you guys would want to get lost in. And there was a lot of support for dipping sauces and condiments. And of course I'm like, babes, don't threaten me with a good time. And I will do it. And I think at this point it was pretty well established that like I, Catherine Kennedy, love a condiment. I love a dipping sauce. I love seasoning. I love like sides. I think this is a broader metaphor for how I live my life, honestly. You can't always control your entree, but you can choose how you experience what you're being served, and you can modify it with the things you dip it into, or put on it. And I think that it's just a topic that brings people a lot of joy. And what I was after in this time was a distraction. I remember sitting there being like, people like probably DMing me as a joke, but like I want to deliver like an earnest episode that talks about dipping sauces like it's like the latest hard-hitting pop cultural story. So I went into it kind of making it a bit, but I think the response to it, like within the Beth universe, you guys just responded so positively to it. Maybe you needed something to listen to. I don't know if the style of it worked or like what, but it also became an episode that like was a lot of people's first point of contact with the show. But I think that has more to do with timing. This episode dropped like right as things closed down, right as people stopped going into the office, stopped going to the gym, stopped being like out in the world. And strangely, this was a time when my podcast did get a lot bigger because I think people had time to listen to it. And it was long form. And this was like a rare occasion where things were trending in the direction of shorter form content, which we've boomeranged back to. But I think people were for once looking for more content, longer content, and they found me. I started hearing from a lot of people, like random friends, former coworkers, more, distant family, being like, oh, I finally listened to your podcast. And I'm like, oh my God. And it was like one conversation after the other. It was, for some reason, like random people would tell me they finally listened, and they would like lead with, oh yeah, I was listening, your podcast is about dipping sauces. Or like, I listened to the first 10 minutes of this one episode, but it was like mostly about queso, it like, Virginia Mexican. And I was just like, oh my God. I realized like, for some reason, a lot of people I knew in real life took it upon themselves to have their point of entry with this episode. And at the time I was getting some like messages like, oh my God, LOL, your podcast like about dipping sauces. Like that was so random. Like I never listened to your show before. Is that the vibe? And I was like, well, no, like, yes, but no, like, I don't know. And it became something I was like, it was meant to be a joke for people in context that for some reason, more people than usual that don't usually listen were telling me they listened, but not really saying they liked it. Anyway. And now this makes more sense to me why this kept happening, because this episode came out March 16th, 2020. And I think March 17th, like St. Patrick's Day like kind of marked, like anything before St. Patrick's Day like feels like the before times to me. So I think it was like a week people were anxious, a week people had time, and a week that for some godforsaken reason, people that I knew near and far were like, okay, fine, I'll listen to Kate's little podcast, just like they, would ask me how my little rug business was going. And like, yeah, friends of friends or family members will just kind of drop in, listen to one episode. And it's always the weirdest fucking episode. And then I'll have this really uncomfortable conversation about it. I genuinely walk away from the conversation being like, I think that they think that I have like 3 listeners and that I'm really trying to make it in this town. And I think that they're worried that this episode they just listened to about dipping sauces, like maybe they could give me some tips on like some more mainstream topics that might help a gal out in this career. Like people approach me with concern sometimes. And anyway, I just had one weird conversation after the next about this episode. I don't know. It became kind of an inside joke amongst the best / kind of a source of anxiety for me. The thing about a podcast is you try one episode, it's not your vibe, you don't return. So you couldn't even return to know that like I don't normally talk about dipping sauces. It's like funny for a person that doesn't seem all that interested in condiments, you sure do dip in and out of my episodes, but whatever. And I think as I've told you guys before, I feel 2 ways about this. On the one hand, I'm like, who cares? Like I'm so proud of what I've done and this job and everything that it is. And anyone who like is in it and understands it, like gets that it's a real legitimate job and I don't really need anybody's reassurance. But there is a weird thing that like happens when the way people, without realizing it, kind of belittle it if they're outside the target demographic and therefore don't think it's like legitimate is already kind of an uphill battle. And to this day, I'm pretty established at this point. I have weird conversations all the time where people don't really know how to gauge if a podcast is legit or if people listen to it or not. And this is also why advertisers like wanting you to be on YouTube kills me. Like, and I film sometimes, but like I'm an older school podcaster at this point. Like I've been around a while. Audio's my medium. I'm not like a video-based influencer. And like, even though I know I have to move in that direction or else I like will cease to exist. I mean, this podcast has like millions and millions of downloads. Like I've been around a while. If you go to YouTube, an episode's going to have like 100 views, which is fine. But that's like not at all what the size of the show. It's just no one listens on YouTube. Anyway, it's just like you are always up against like the awkwardness of people thinking that you are not doing well at your hobbyist venture. And sometimes I don't care and sometimes I do. And I think this was just a vulnerable time for me where this particular episode was so silly. People that have started blogs or podcasts or an online persona or have started a business or an Etsy shop or like whatever it is, you know what I'm talking about. People talk to you like your career, by nature of not believing internet careers are real jobs with real revenue or belittling women's work in any capacity. Like people talk to you like it's a cute little project. It's just something over time that just really annoys me. And so when I talk about my frustration with the Aioli Spirit, it's partially that it's funny because this episode's so unserious, but it's partially that like back when I was still trying to find my way and tune out things that people would say so I wouldn't lose energy. Like these types of conversations you have really do get under your skin and feel embarrassing, even though they shouldn't. And I think that because I was more sensitive to it at the time, secretly, I was always like, fuck, why? I wish I had done something around that time that like people had time to kill that like, I don't know, would have maybe made them better understand like my range or the legitimacy of this show. You know what? I had just realized this. I think it might have, okay, people had a lot of time to kill for once. And this episode was like an hour and 7 minutes, which at the time, especially most of my episodes were like 2.5 hours. So I wonder if this one was, so often picked for, if you were going to like give it a try, you were going to pick something shorter. That is interesting. Anyway, I'm thinking out loud. I feel brave. Like Teddy in his book about the emotions. And he always talks about feeling confident and brave. I am being confident and I'm being brave by listening to these episodes and hoping that I stand by them, but I never really know. And we'll get into it. But we're going to thank some advertisers in the meantime. And I guess when will this episode drop? Maybe I'm recording this in advance, maybe like Super Bowl weekend. Yeah, which makes sense for dipping sauce as well. I love when things make sense. So at least that does, if the rest doesn't. And I'll catch you on the flip side after the dip side. And thank you for being here. Sorry for the long intro. Love you so much. Bye. This episode is brought to you by Quince. Now, I don't know if you saw the video I teased of this episode of me wearing like a gray chunky knit sweater that I planned to wear so I could like turtle into my shell of my turtleneck in case this episode embarrassed me. But it just turned out to be like the most gloriously cozy item I could ever be wearing while I listened to this comfort episode. And that is just one of many things I have from there. Like, I never thought I'd be a person that could like, one, afford cashmere, or two, like wear it. Because when something is like high quality, I just don't feel like I could take the right care of it. And I just can't believe you can get a gorgeous cashmere sweater in a variety of colors from Quince for like $50. I love their fisherman cashmere sweater that I just got, and I bought it like kind of oversized. They have this like funnel neck cashmere sweater I've been eyeing because I feel like we're in a mock neck moment, but I digress. Quince has so many wardrobe staples with quality that's made to last, from 100% organic cotton, sweaters, premium denim made with stretch for all-day comfort, luxe cotton cashmere blends perfect for the changing seasons, everything you need for a wardrobe that actually lasts. They work directly with safe, ethical factories and cut out the middlemen so you're not paying brand markup. And they use high-quality materials, and they just have like really beautiful pieces. I'm staring at a tote bag I use nearly every day that's like woven Italian leather. I've gotten so many good things from there, and my husband finds a lot of good stuff at Quince, and we usually can't find stuff from the same store. But he loves their sweaters and quarter zips too. And you know how hard it is to find like a perfect white tee? I think they have a great like ribbed white tee with a perfect collar that's like tight to the neck that looks good under a sweater, which a white tee that's good under a sweater is not the same as like a regular white tee. You know, there's a specific set of needs. Really, Quince has it all. And if you want to refresh your wardrobe with Quince, go to quince.com/BeThereIn5 for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada too. That's QUINCE.com/BeThereIn5 to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/BeThereIn5. This episode is brought to you by Wayfair. I know it's like mid-Feb, and I was going to say like new year, new me, new space, but realistically, I'm always interested in elevating and upgrading like my home space. I think we might renew or lease, and I have a lot of things I want to do. First being nightstands. And when I asked the Beths, I said, Beths, what do I do with nightstands? I need cute ones. I need them to come in a pair. And beyond that, get this, I need them to come assembled. Like, where can you find that? And I thought that was going to be an impossible task. The Beths delivered and came back and said, no, get the Celine from Wayfair. It comes assembled. And I was like, what? It's these gorgeous nightstands in a variety of different like wood stains with gold knobs, but they have others too. And it kind of blew my mind that you can filter so specifically and actually drill down to things that come pre-assembled. So you can realistically buy furniture for like whatever, your bandwidth. And I just am not building things in these trying times. They have everything you need for bedroom, bathroom, kids' rooms. If you're feeling optimistic about warmer days ahead, outdoor furniture. They have kitchen essentials. They have like so many great work from home setups with desks and office chairs and bookcases. I'm considering getting like a more plush desk chair for myself, but one step at a time. That's like my next home decor project. And really, I don't need to look any further than Wayfair. Beyond furniture, they also have accent pillows. They have mirrors. They have decor. They have faux plants. They have everything I could ever need. And I'll report back on my nightstands. And I'm stoked to refresh my home this year and get some new pieces. And I think Wayfair, they've really got it all. Get organized, refreshed, and back on track this new year for way less. Head to wayfair.com right now to shop all things home. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair, every style, every home. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Be There in 5 podcast. I'm Kate Kennedy, your host. I made a joke yesterday that people had asked me if I was going to be podcasting more often, given the times we're in. And like, absolutely, if you want to hear from me, I'll podcast. I can't guarantee the quality or the editing, but I'm at least going to try to do 2 times a week. And I said, well, you need to tell me what you want to hear about. Otherwise, I'll just podcast about dipping sauces. Now, when I tell you the positive feedback on that topic was alarmingly high, that's how I know we're truly in a crisis. And, challenge accepted. When I dip, you dip, we dip. I wanted to see if I could take a super random topic that nobody could possibly talk about for an hour and like thread through different thoughts about them in a way that's not boring. Maybe it's educational, maybe it's nostalgic, maybe it makes you hungry. But all I'm really trying to do is just distract you from any worries you may have in this incredibly uncertain time. Thanks to everybody doing their part. It's not about hype. It's not about being cool. It's not about being woke. It's not about being on a high horse. It's not about shaming. It's about science. It's about statistics. It's about flattening the curve to minimize cases in terms of something we already know is highly contagious, to spread them out over a longer period of time at a lesser level than to have a spike that will overwhelm our healthcare system and thus put those that are already ill at risk. It's a small price to pay to keep your community safe. I don't like the influencer soapbox. I think you're all smart, and I think you all know exactly what you should be doing. And I'm not here to add to the stress whatsoever. I'm here to entertain. And if you've listened to this podcast for a while, you know, for me, especially given St. Patrick's Day weekend, it is hardly a hurdle for me to forego being bought shots that tend to curdle. So, I didn't miss much. Hope you all didn't either. Anyway, back to dipping sauces. I think we could really go full aioli to Zaxby's here. I think that there's a lot of ground to cover, and I think it's going to be hard at times to delineate, am I talking about dip? Am I talking about sauce? Am I talking about condiments? These are all different things and different, require different serving agents. And, I'm not a purist in this realm. I don't know a ton about the food, or the science behind food, or how you balance ingredients. Honestly, I pour salt in my mouth. So really I'm far from a tastemaker. And I know things definitely vary regionally depending on which chains and places you like. So please factor in nuance. Give me some space to just exercise a hugely subjective input here as it relates to dipping sauces. The world is but a dipping sauce, and everything else is just a vehicle of transport. My culinary philosophy centers on what can I dip it in or spread on it. And, while that's offensive to most chefs and is kind of the, it's a little less French Laundry, Thomas Keller, and a little bit more French dip at the Arby's. If you call it an au jus, it's, call me a Francophile, because I will be dipping my roast beef in said jus. I was trying to figure out, okay, how do I separate? When am I talking about a sauce or a condiment or dip or whatever? And one Alton Brown suggests that a dip is defined on its ability to maintain contact with its transport mechanism over 3 feet of white carpet. And when I tell you this is upsetting, it's the understatement of the year, because then what the hell do I call perhaps the most perfect dip of all time that is kind of the nexus of my interest in dips, which is, in my experience, pretty specific to mid-Atlantic Mexican restaurants, which is the, hugely inauthentic, widely under-leveraged in other parts of the United States, questionably made potion of the gods. And that is a super drippy, watery white queso. My God. Guys, it's a crime amongst humanity that more places don't serve this in the Midwest. I've really had a time in the Midwest trying to get my mitts on some white queso. And but I don't want queso fundido. I want watery. I want liquid. I want runny. There is nothing in my life I would ever say, great, but make it runny. We don't want a runny nose. I don't want a runny faucet. I don't want runny eggs. My God, no. But when it comes to queso, I want a viscosity that is so low, you're like, do you want some cheese with that water? I want the proper elegance of a melted white American cheese, preferably Land O'Lakes White American Food Service extra melt engineered cheese for melting and holding well, mixed with green chilies, mixed with pickled jalapenos, mixed with paprika, cayenne pepper, some salt, pepper, maybe some cumin if I'm feeling wild. I want it slow and low and melty, and to truly have the elegance that only that of a faucet could have in terms of its uncontrollable leakage. It's never going to last 3 feet across the carpet on its vehicle of choice, per Alton Brown's suggestion of a proper dip. God, no. Honestly, if it lasts more than 3 inches once it's outside of its receptacle, I don't want it. I don't want the cheese dip to resemble cheese in the same way I don't want wine to represent grapes. It's better. It's processed. It's thinner. It goes down smoother. It makes you feel some type of way that more often than not leaves you feeling better off than before. Embrace the elegance. I just don't think there's really a lot of ways you can be sitting across from somebody and be eating super runny cheese dip and try to aim for a soft landing in your mouth that goes without the fuel dripping. It's not a possibility in this life. And honestly, should you be so lucky to be breaking bread in prime suburbia at an inauthentic Mexican restaurant that almost has an appropriative design to it, that I can only assume is a stone's throw from your nearest Simon shopping center, and hopefully like a megaplex sized Barnes and Noble, maybe a Michael's if you're really lucky, a Ross Dress for Less if the retail leases in your town aren't doing great. And to be sitting there eating such an important food, despite it not being the most becoming food to eat, that will inevitably get everywhere and does require you to do the sushi bite, in which you do have to put the entire chip in your mouth and bite it in one fell swoop, almost to a point where the acoustics your mouth creates from such a broad bite of a flat chip that is larger than the size of your mouth results in, a sonic conclusion that anyone with misophonia would consider that of a torture chamber. But I, for one, think the mouth megaphone that is created by an oversized mouth chip, completely covered in queso and taken in one bite at a Mexican restaurant. For me, it's a real melody of comfort and familiarity and deliciousness. And when washed down with a margarita that is so inappropriately large, that truly could serve as a small dunk tank for my face, I've never been happier. I love a murky red marbled cup that's only similar to that of the ones you had at Pizza Hut after, reading some quote, I'm using finger quotes, reading 6 books, filling up your book at pin, going to a Pizza Hut, having that, pellet aerated lawn ice in a tall red glass. I just get some fresh Dr. Pepper. My God, there's nothing like it. I'd argue a fountain soda next to a margarita the size of your face, next to a warm bowl of runny queso with the elegance and unpredictability and spray factor of Bridal Veil Falls is really, it doesn't get much better than that in life. And during these trying times, I wish for myself that comfort. And I hope those of you that are in suburban areas, I keep saying mid-Atlantic because the only time I've ever been presented with white runny queso consistently has been when I lived in and around Virginia. When I lived in New York, I couldn't find it. In Chicago, I can't find it. When I lived in San Francisco, I couldn't find it. Southern California is like, the Mexican food is so good because it's authentic, but they're not going to go anywhere near Land O'Lakes White American, and I love cotija cheese. I love Oaxaca cheese. I love actual like Mexican food too, but it's something about this dip that I think I ate so much of growing up as a picky eater that just like will forever warm my heart. And I look forward to the days when it lines my stomach. And I'm sorry I just talked about that for 6 minutes. The other one I feel passionate about that I should get out of the way, it's hard because Stassi Schroeder tries to act like she invented it, but way before Vanderpump Rules, there were short pump rules, and I grew up in short pump. And picture me at a sports banquet for some sport my brother was doing, or that one year I made cheerleading for some reason, but I think it's because she was my neighbor or the coach. I was at a Golden Corral. I was maybe 11 or 12. I remember thinking to myself, did food exist before I took this bite of iceberg lettuce? What am I eating? There were 2 occasions. One, my dad had knee surgery. And soon after, when he was kind of mobile, we went to this place near Virginia Center Commons, which I'd love to see now. Back then, it was a hotbed for stores like Rave and Deb, which, if you're familiar, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I'd be very interested to see where it is now, if it's still open. But anyway, there was a restaurant called the Spaghetti Warehouse. Well, I give it a real C- for naming in terms of it just being a little too on the nose, a little too straightforward. Like, hey, let's call our restaurant the Taco Logistics Center, It had this ranch that like blew my mind. And it was one of the first times I ate ranch. And for me growing up, I was pretty much a purist as it related to salad bars only, which, to even talk about a salad bar in this time of germophobia it's dark. I mean, how careless we all once were, with those ladles. But I think back on having ranch at the Spaghetti Warehouse. I loved it so much. I couldn't stop thinking about it. The next week, I went downstairs, asked my dad if we could go back to the Spaghetti Warehouse, but I was saying it kind of like as a joke. but I was also like really excited because I liked it so much. And I kept talking about this ranch almost in like an annoying way. And I remember this because I sat on his knee that he just had surgery on. And he was so nice and trying to act like he wasn't hurt, but like, and I will never forget it. I felt awful. And that's the only reason I'm telling you that is because that's how I remember when I had ranch for one of the first times because I resisted sauces of all kind. Being a picky eater growing up, I just was very exclusive to like the butter noodles of it all. My poor mother. Meanwhile, like the kids now like eat sushi in preschool. I'm like, what? You're having uni? That's like literal Zand, like Nickelodeon Gak, the brand of like Nickelodeon texture play goo that people would get if their parents wouldn't let them use Gak because it would grease your wall, was this stuff called Zand. And uni, which is sea urchin, is literal Zand. And it's good if it's good, but like it's a tough texture. And I've seen like full on toddlers just like housing, a Toro hand roll. And I'm like, good for you, Skylar. I would never. I still am touch and go as it relates to fish. But anyways, I just remember that those types of incidents help me like place the timing. Similarly, I went to a cheerleading banquet and it was at a Golden Corral. I haven't been to a Golden Corral in a while. At the time, it was fresh off of a salmonella outbreak, or maybe it was right before. At one point, a Golden Corrals did have salmonella and norovirus. But I think this was before because I was approaching the salad bar with some pretty reckless abandon. The ranch is gold. The rest of the experience, I'd say, is bronze at best. But from that point on, I realized salad bars were my jam, and I would make it my duty in life to ensure everywhere I went had all I needed. And all I needed was crisp as hell iceberg lettuce, ladles of ranch, and maybe some bacon bits if I was feeling fancy and needed the protein. Honestly, it's disgusting. I mean, I still love it. It's essentially a wedge salad without the blue cheese. But like I would get away with it being like, I want salad. I need some leafy greens, but I would just literally eat cups of ranch and then like teenage rage cry when somebody would make fun of me and be like, oh, you want some salad with that dressing? It's like, okay. At one point in the early 2010s when everyone was blogging, and I was like, I should start a blog. I have impeccable style. I'm going to call it Dressing on the Side because I love to have my dressings on the side and I love to dress myself on the side. And honestly, I still think it's a clever name and I think somebody took it. But just imagine, instead of talking shit about me on Reddit as Be There in 5, you could be talking shit about me as DOTS. What's Dots up to today? Oh, God, talking about sauce again. Let me just get through this and we can move on. All I ask for in a ranch dressing is to use the packet, right? I think we all know this. I know a lot of people think Hidden Valley is great. I think Hidden Valley is awful. I think Kraft is awful. I think most bottled dressings outside of Lighthouse, which is the premier dilly garlicky ranch, I think that's store-bought, in my opinion. I don't F with things that are shelf stable. It needs to come from the refrigerated section. And it needs to be inflated to the point where it is at least $5. I'll F with the Marie's. I love a Lighthouse. I'm touch and go with Ken's. But when it comes to ranches, the best case scenario is restaurant bought because they are using food service powder mixed with some sort of dairy. And the fuller fat dairy, the better. Obviously, a buttermilk is superior, a whole milk, anything that is cream-based, a sour cream incorporation, a mayonnaise. Everybody picks their poison. I know what you're thinking, food providers of the world. You're like, Kate, as a in fact, is your name Melody because you're all up in this ranch? And that's the only character I know from Hey Dude, Christine Taylor, R.I.P. her and Ben Stiller's marriage. What's another character on that show? Can't think of one. Hey Dude, it's a little wild and a little strange. Something out on the range. That was a good show. Anyway, if you own or operate of some sort of third-party vendor that does serve dipping sauces and you're wanting my input for how to operate with integrity, you use the packet. And Hidden Valley's packet is perfectly adequate, which is store-bought for the rest of us. But for people in the game of big batch ranch, I was having this discussion, a fruitful discussion with my sister-in-laws. The more I hear in-law stories, my in-laws are so lovely and delightful and fun. And Greg has 3 younger sisters, and they're each funnier than the next, and I love them. And one of the things I can sit down and talk to them about at length is like we were like at his dad's retirement party, sitting by ourselves, discussing how we felt the correlation between ranch quality and price point was that as price point goes down at a restaurant, the ranch taste goes up. And their theory was this is attributed mostly to the packet of Gordon Food Service ranch seasoning, which is delicious and affordable. And if the food you buy is lower cost, you're going to buy the packet and not like the pre-made liquid, right? I thought it actually made a ton of sense. And it was a fruitful conversation that I've really thought through, because there is a type of venue that just has this outstanding ranch, but the rest of their food isn't that great, but you drench it in the ranch and it's fine. I think the other piece of this too is when I speak passionately about food, I'm rarely speaking passionately about like my more adventurous culinary experiences throughout life, which have been delightful. But I think I can speak more easily with conviction in terms of the more sensory, simple times in my life when I just didn't know that there was more or better. And I almost find a lot of humor in me, parked outside of a high school football game concession stand with a classic Schwann's overbreaded, crispy chicken tender dunked in a Gordon Food Service packet-based buttermilk ranch, and thinking, I made it. This this is as good as it's going to get. And that to me is what I channel in anything creatively that I do. I love the blinders and the narrow beauty of being lost in a moment that by and large the rest of the world would find trivial, borderline tasteless, perhaps even gauche. But to you, it's incredibly impactful. I try to channel that girl and not the jaded, pretentious monster I've become that won't even sneeze out a shelf-stable ranch, for example. And I guess I just encourage anybody out there who's like in these trying times, who's really struggling to find their place in terms of what they look for in a dressing that serves as so much more than a dressing, that is ideal for wings, is ideal for pizza, is ideal not only on an iceberg lettuce, but really any lettuce except for spinach or kale. For some reason, ranch doesn't quite translate there, but Caesar does. If you today are struggling with your ranch preferences, I just want to challenge you. Don't go to the store now, but when this all passes, to go make it from a packet and see what happens. Watch magic ensue. And for the love of God, skydive, Rocky Mountain climb, 2.7 seconds, bull name Fu Manchu. Live like you're dying. Life is short. Do not opt for low-fat alternatives. This is a side. It's not the full meal. Like, just Greek yogurt. Let's eat Greek yogurt in less dire times, okay? I just don't really understand low-fat alternatives in a time of high stress. I'm not encouraging unhealthy habits, but I am encouraging joy. And, let's at least have our dipping sauces be thick while our skin is so paper thin. I feel like my takes are getting hotter. I'm on my third glass of wine. I'm acting like I don't know what to do. And I'm just like beside myself because I'm inside. Guys, I would not have left this weekend normally. Like, it's going to be fine. I think what's daunting is the thought of doing this for so long. But like when you can do it again at your own pace, your own will, it's like it's so different. But we really haven't been doing much for too long. I really feel for people with kids, people that are restless, people that need to exert energy. I mean, my young son Tugboat, he's running in circles. He's lost his damn mind. I've had to re-record this 12 times because he was barking at what he thought was a remnant of a chicken wing, but it is in fact a paintbrush. We're all going a little crazy, but this is merely the beginning. So I don't know much and I can't help much, but I don't know. I could go on and on about ranch. But a lot of us love it. A lot of it's not that good. I think it hugely depends. I still own the website ranchrank.com. It was supposed to be a Yelp for dipping sauces. I still might do it. I just need somebody who will build it out of equity and that I don't have to pay, which I want to pay is work with women and pay them. So I try to actively not pursue things that are on an equity basis because it eats my soul. But unfortunately, when you're in a building phase, you can't always do that. I have so many freaking domains. Maybe I'll build out some of these businesses during this downtime.
This episode's brought to you by Hungry Root. You've heard me talk about Hungry Root before, so you know how much I love it because it really simplifies my life as a parent, as a podcaster, as a person trying to get to Florida for a girls' trip this weekend. I just sometimes need some help with the things I don't feel particularly skilled at. And one of these is like meal planning and grocery shopping. Hungry Root is different than a meal delivery service. I know I often tell you guys this, but it's worth reiterating. It's not like parsed out ingredients that you put toward recipes you pre-select. It's full-sized groceries sent to you based on like any dietary preference you could ever need, any allergy preference you could ever have for your family, which is so important. And yeah, instead of sending you like ingredients for a recipe, they send you full-size groceries that come with recipes that you can do, like can make, but you don't have to. So like sometimes, like recently when I was sent a ribeye with a mushroom sauce or, a kale salad, instead of making it as designed, I made part of it and like had the mushrooms with chicken. And then I put the steak on the salad. And you know what I mean? It's like nice to have that flexibility so you're not locked into a particular meal. But what's nice is their recipes are always like 3 to 4 ingredients each. And they're pretty simple, but they're always delicious. And I love so many of their snacks, like to-go hummus and pretzel things for my son. Or I think at this point, it's just figured out my interest in sweet and savory items. And, I'm like, oh, yes, grapes, cheese sticks, olives, for just ongoing snacking, but also like little delightful healthy cookies and full meals for my family. And I just love feeling like I can expect a box. I'll have food for the week. I'll have things to provide my child. And I have options. And I just like the flexibility. It goes with my lifestyle. I think you guys would love Hungry Root too. It holds its food to high standards, screening out over 200 additives, and it has over 100 grocery items like smoothie sweets, kid snacks, salad kits, ready-to-eat meals, and supplements to choose from each week. And with that much variety, it's easy to find options that fit everyone's taste and nutrition goals. Whatever it is your goal is, whatever your budget, just know that Hungry Root can help you out, help you save time, and it'll learn your taste and tailor your orders to you so you have the utmost convenience in being able to feed you and yours with quality food you can trust. And you're going to love Hungry Root as much as I do. For a limited time, get 40% off your first box, plus get a free item in every box for life. Go to hungryroot.com/BeThereIn5 and use code BeThereIn5. That's hungryroot.com/BeThereIn5, code BeThereIn5 to get 40% off your first box and a free item of your choice for life. This episode is brought to you by Ritual. I'm endlessly grateful for Ritual and their team of scientists. A, because I believe in science, and B, because they poured over thousands of studies into identifying the common gaps between nutrient needs and what people are actually consuming across different life stages. And I'm sure it doesn't come as a surprise to you that if you eat mostly dips and condiments, it might not always be the most balanced diet. While a multivitamin doesn't replace a balanced diet, it sure does support it. And I think that nutrient gaps can still happen even if you are trying your hardest, whether, genetics, dietary preferences. Even modern farming practices can deplete soil from nutrients. News to me. And that's why a multivitamin can really come in handy. I take my Ritual Women's multivitamin every morning. It's something I kind of look forward to, not only because it makes me feel accomplished, like I'm filling in said gaps, but it has like a nice aftertaste and it doesn't make me feel like ill, which I know sounds crazy, but that's like a very common thing I feel like with a lot of supplements. And it goes down easy. It's 2 delayed release capsules a day with 9 key nutrients. And they're designed for optimal absorption, designed to be gentle on the stomach with a minty essence that makes taking them enjoyable. And I also just feel aligned that they believe in clinical trials, for example. Ritual conducted a university-led clinical trial for their Essential for Women 18 Plus multivitamin to assess its efficacy. And the results were that it increased vitamin D levels by 43% and omega-3 DHA levels by 41% in just 12 weeks. They're made vegan, non-GMO, project verified, gluten and major allergen free, and made traceable. Like you can literally look up where all of the ingredients come from. They have a transparent supply chain, a transparent capsule, transparent bottle. I love Ritual. I've worked with them for years, and I just really think that they're doing the work as it relates to filling in for our dietary needs in a way that our dipping sauces may not always provide. Instead of striving for perfect health, aim for supporting foundational health. Save 25% on your first month at ritual.com/BeThereIn5. That's ritual.com/BeThereIn5 for 25% off your first month.
But anyway, I meant to give you a little background too, because I do want this to be educational. Ranch came on the shelves in 1992, just to give you a frame of reference. I came to it in roughly 1996 or 7, which is probably by the time I went to salad bars. I do think it would be interesting, and I will not pursue this now in your best interest to, Weird Al rewrite Toby Keith's I Love This Bar to be about salad bars, because they are my kind of place. But this climate, I don't think it's my best, in any of our best interest to explore that which is a cesspool. But, I do think it's important. 1992 is the official year when ranch overtook Italian as the best-selling salad dressing in the United States, and it's a title that it has held since 1992. I appreciate Italian dressing, but it's not one we see as often anymore. The 90s for me were very marked by a zesty Italian. I would dump that on any sort of green my mom tried to give me, and as well in pasta salads that sat out for too long and were borderline food unsafe next to the stale country time lemonade at any given picnic that somebody brought a boxed pasta salad to. I freaking love pasta salad. Hate a potato, hate an egg, love a pasta. It took about 40 years for ranch to take over as top in 1992. So it wasn't invented per se, but that's when it kind of reached its popularity to where it took the throne that it still now has in America. There's a dip genius named Steve Henson, not to be confused with Jim Henson of the Muppet Babies. Steve Henson was a plumbing contractor who worked in Alaska in remote forests. He is the founder of ranch dressing. He perfected this recipe over 40 some years. He and his wife served ranch dressing at a dude ranch that was literally called Hidden Valley, but they operated in Santa Barbara. How they got there from Alaska, I don't know. And this recap simply is not giving me the answers I need. But as it relates to what I know of Alaska, which is watching Alaska: The Last Frontier, which Jewel the Singer's family is the star of in a reality show about how they're basically subsistence farmers on an Alaskan frontier, they do seem to do pretty well for themselves. So it wouldn't surprise me if they also had a Montecito enclave. Anyway, so the Hensons, not Jim, Steve, found success starting with DIY take-home ranch packets to create a Hidden Valley Ranch food products factory. But then Clorox swooped in and bought out Hidden Valley Ranch in 1972 for $8 million. Soon after that, Clorox got a hold of it. Its buttercream future was bottled in Bright, including a non-refrigerated formulation in 1983. I'd curse that year. I mean, but it's the year my sister was born. So while she is a major perk of 83, I'd say shelf-stable ranch is a major pit of 1983. The ingredients of this buttermilk-based recipe that went on to become famous for cool ranch flavor variations. For this, yeah, God, I love quality copywriting. I'm like skimming bullet points and trying to reword and add my own flair because this is like the most boring story of all time. But this one says the snack food industry appropriated the flavor, layering its pretzels and chips and corn products with who knows how many, quote, cool ranch flavor variations for generations of acne-ridden teens to gorge on. It's like, what? What? Who's acne-ridden? Cool Ranch it's not only is it delicious, it's not a core contributor to cystic acne. We all know that that's more hormonal than anything. And, don't blame your lack of face washing and personal hygiene on my delicious dusty powder. I feel like acne-ridden teens is too far. I think that this person calling the snack food industry guilty of appropriating the Cool Ranch flavor maybe needs to check themselves in terms of making fun of youths that can't control their oil levels in their skin. It's like acne. Something about the way acne is spoken about is like so 90s, like girl talk board game, red stickers it if like your crush Brad didn't like you. Oh, Brad was on Hey Dude. Wow, that's why that name was top of mind. Yeah, it's like they really want to take back the narrative of Cool Ranch. Like, go get a Stridex pad, squirt, or some other 90s term of endearment. Anyway, guys, let's move on to an important sauce that I skim at each and every menu I ever come across for, and is honestly a product of a rebrand more successful than Ashley Hesseltine's rebrand her second year of Russian college when she came back swinging and got into the sorority she knew she was always meant for. And that is aioli, which is essentially the ultimate rebrand of mayonnaise. When I was reading about aiolis, I want you to know I did very little research going into this. It made me laugh because the way aioli was described everywhere I looked was the marriage of garlic and mayonnaise. It would literally be like, when a mommy that's garlic and a daddy that's mayonnaise love each other very much. And I was just like, okay, what is happening? Birds and the bees and the aiolis. But yeah, I guess it is the marriage of garlic and mayonnaise. It's tangy, it's delicious. Its origin apparently was to accompany cod, which is interesting. And it's a Provençal sauce, not to be confused with the provincial life that Belle lived in Beauty and the Beast. I believe that I always thought it was confusing because Belle's obviously in France. And if, Julia Engel from Gal Meets Glam has taught me anything, it's that I know what Provence looks like, not because I've been, but because I've seen her travel for the blooms. And I don't know, basically, Julia's majority of her life and blog looks like she could be saying bonjour through a window. And I'd probably be like, yeah, you look like Belle. You were beautiful and always in a charming village like town with a lot of flowers and fresh baked goods. So what's the difference? But apparently Belle says provincial life, which provincial is different than provençal, right? Provençal is like of Provence, the region in France. Actually, I think I have been to Provence. Who the hell knows? I feel like I'm 100. Provincial means like showing it's almost like unsophisticated, or like a person that lives in a particular town that's like dense and doesn't know otherwise. Like even if you look up synonyms for it, the hillbilly is like a known synonym of the term provincial. It's kind of like derogatory toward being from a small town. But I don't know. I feel like she meant provençal, not provincial. But I know she felt her life was provincial. But if you live in Provence and it's provincial, then why is Julia going? Because she's Gal Meets Glam. Again, she's not Gal Meets Famine. She is not Gal Meets Salmon, Well, I guess here we're talking about cod. This is going off the rails. This is the worst podcast episode I've ever done. I'm just trying to distract you. I hope you're distracted. But anyways, I guess I'm speaking more specifically to a garlic aioli. I love a lot of different aiolis. I'm going to try to steer clear of ranking things here because I think that that's unfair to the participants. It's unfair to your subjective taste as the listener, and it's unfair to me, who has a remarkable ability to change my mind at the drop of a hat. But I do say typically my top contender over a garlic aioli is, in fact, a chipotle aioli. I love a spicy mayo, and I know those things are interchangeable, but a chipotle aioli just feels a little bit more sophisticated. If I was going to rank, I'd say my preferences lie in 1, chipotle aioli, 2, a garlic, 3, I was going to say a truffle, but it's so 2016. I might go with like a wasabi or a sriracha. Nope, that's pretty much the same as a spicy mayo, and I know that's different than like a chipotle mayo. Obviously, those are 2 different types of spices, but I would argue in the restaurant world, as it relates to a spicy mayo side, they kind of use chipotle or sriracha mayo interchangeably, don't you think? Trust me, I wouldn't be caught dead mistaking an adobo sauce for sriracha, but I'll take either when I'm at a third-party vendor. I like something with a citrus hint. Like, I respect the hell out of a lemon aioli, maybe a lime cilantro. I can't have avocados, but I understand a lot of people do that. When I entered this conversation, I thought I was going to have a lot more to say about aioli, but I'm sad to report I think that's about it. Here's the key. There's a harissa. The best turkey burger in Chicago is at the Vig. Don't get the harissa aioli, sub chipotle aioli, but get it on the side and then spread it on each bite of your turkey burger individually. There are 2 patties. It will last you a dinner and a lunch. And I just would encourage anybody out there who wants to be braver in their ordering. If something comes with aioli on it, get an extra side. You will want to dip your fries in it. And it makes a huge difference. And it's like, at that point, if you're already getting a huge ass thing of fries, just get the dipping sauce. I don't know. I don't know if that feels nominal at that point. You know what I mean? I will say one of the best aiolis in the biz is there's a garlic aioli at the Restoration Hardware 3 Arts Cafe in Chicago. The starter of fries is like absolutely outstanding. And I don't know why that's the only aioli that's coming to mind except for the turkey burger at the Vig. But generally speaking, it's pretty hard to mess up like garlic and mayonnaise and like add in other flavor. So I think it's safe to say aioli is pretty up there on my list. Here's where I get confused. Do I talk about salsas? What's my behavior as I relate to salsa? I prefer Herdez. My pronunciation is garbage. My taste in food is garbage. Please, again, don't judge me for any of this. I'm just having fun. I love Herdez salsa verde, and I love sour cream, and I like to mix them, which I know sounds gross, but it's actually quite delicious because I like to have a balance of both on my chip, and I just like to mix them in advance. I don't like a chunky or like Tostitos, again, the shelf stability of it all, but it is, it's shelf stable. It's just like thinner and more minced. I tend to like sauces more minced than like chunky. The same goes for while I'll eat a chili, but not a stew. Those are different things. I know that it's like, you can't even look me in the eye or the ear. I can't eat guacamole. I know this brings a lot of people joy. Unfortunately, I can't add anything to this discussion. I've had it before. I will try it every year or so just to like see what my vibe is. If I'll Thomas J. swell up like bees, or if I'll just like, look like I got a fresh set of Juvederm and move on. It makes me scratchy. It makes my lips swell a little. It's nothing like that detrimental. I would never die. I would never put myself at risk like that for kicks. I do think some real estate is due here for the kind of vague, almost Thousand Island-esque sauces that come on burgers that every place swears is proprietary. That's all equally delicious. It's kind of like the Big Mac sauce, the Shake Shack sauce, whatever. I would argue that Big Mac sauce, Zaxby's sauce, Shake Shack sauce, and In-N-Out sauce, all very similar. And then I was looking up recipes for them, and there's small differences, but they all have a similar essence to them, and more than deliciousness. So like Zaxby's, for example, I think this might be a Southern chain. I had it for the first time because my sister-in-law's mom made it at like a bridal or baby shower or something, and I was like, what is this? And I was never the same. It's mayonnaise, ketchup, garlic powder, Worcestershire sauce, and black pepper. Whereas Big Mac is mayonnaise, relish, mustard, barbecue sauce, apple cider vinegar, garlic powder, onion powder, paprika, salt. So no Worcestershire, add mustard, barbecue, apple cider vinegar is the big difference there. Shake Shack sauce, mayonnaise, ketchup, mustard, dill pickle, garlic powder, paprika, pepper. So a little bit of a variation. In-N-Out sauce is mayonnaise, ketchup, sweet pickle, relish, sugar, distilled white vinegar. So basically they're all very different. I take back everything I said, but really the baseline is like, okay, Zaxby's and Shake Shack is mayonnaise and ketchup with a variation of garlic powder, paprika, pepper, spices, whatever. Zaxby's has Worcestershire, Shake Shack has mustard. Big Mac and In-N-Out are pretty similar with mayonnaise, relish, ketchup, garlic powder, whatever. But Big Mac has barbecue sauce in it, and In-N-Out does not. In-N-Out has vinegar. I actually think In-N-Out's the best one of all, and it's the simplest recipe of mayonnaise, ketchup, relish, sugar, white vinegar. Though I swear there's garlic in there too. Those 4 sauces are outstanding. I will get them. I like to get an extra side as well as have it on the burger. The In-N-Out animal style fries come with that sauce on the fries if you ask for them animal style, also with onions, I believe. The In-N-Out secret menu is such like a charade. It's like not that secret. You guys familiar with the Starbucks secret menu while I'm sitting here? Secret menu items, Starbucks. It makes me laugh that people order these. Like, I cannot imagine going up to my local barista that like I've been going there for 6 years and she still spells my name like Kit or Cat. Like, and I think like it's loud and they're not really paying attention, but also if I went and I was like, can I get an upside down black-eyed unicorn with a twist? They'd be like, shut up. Like, here's a black coffee. I mean, good for your Starbucks for being so open to these kooky orders. But like, these aren't that crazy. It's like blackberry cobbler frappuccino. It's like vanilla bean cream frappuccino with white mocha syrup and blackberries, or biscotti frappuccino, vanilla bean then they have you blend a biscotti in your frappuccino. Pink drink is acai refresher, coconut milk, real strawberries blended. You can get a cake batter frap, an apple pie frap, a cookies and cream frap, a fruity pebbles frap, a grasshopper frap, a chocolate Dalmatian, a hot white chocolate mocha with Java chips and chocolate chips. Like, do you need that in your life? Like, can't you just order the regular one? This is called liquid cocaine. It's 4 shots of espresso, 4 pumps of white chocolate syrup. I used to fill a grande cup and fill with milk. Hot tip. Don't go to a public place and ask for cocaine. Like, hey, I'll get a black tar heroin venti, please. Like, no, what are we doing? So strange. The other category I want to get into, I'm going to try to wrap this up at an hour. Honestly, I don't know. Is to go a little deeper into nuggets. And I know this is dipping sauce and also condiment kind of territory, but I want to make something crystal clear as it relates to the way we approach nuggets in this country. McDonald's nuggets belong with honey, not honey mustard, not mustard, not anything but pure, straight from the hive, good old-fashioned honey. Those nuggets are made for it. They are slightly salty. They have one of the best crispy skins in the business. It's seasoned saltily, but not over seasoned to compete with the honey. And it's the perfect sweet savory combination that your family needs this flu season. I don't know if we're going to the McDonald's. Honestly, support local business. But I just think if you've never had McDonald's nuggets with honey, it's just really important that you understand that they're made for each other. I'm like still laughing at how many places that garlic and mayonnaise get married, they make an aioli. It's like, oh, are you here for the bride or the groom? Oh, I'm here for the garlic. Are you here for the mayo? Oh my God, amazing. Don't forget to hashtag aioli ever after. But when it comes to nuggets, McDonald's belongs with honey. Wendy's nuggets are so well seasoned, they thrive standalone. I do not think you need to order sauce at Wendy's. And I know that's controversial, but they are outstanding. Dry, their spicy nuggets are unparalleled. If not a little too spicy at times, but they just did make a huge comeback. Chick-fil-A nuggets, which I'm sorry to report are third to me behind Wendy's and McDonald's. Wendy's and McDonald's are kind of tied because I like them for different reasons, for different types of hangovers. Chick-fil-A to me is very much, I'm at a function and there's a large tray and I'm going to eat one of these nubbins. I will dip it in honey mustard or Chick-fil-A sauce. I was informed today upon asking my sister and sister-in-law, do you have any input as it relates to dipping sauces? And they informed me that they didn't realize that if you have 2 packets of Chick-fil-A sauce, it's over 300 calories. Now, I don't like to calorie count or over-focus on it when we're trying to just experience the joy of food and talk about it in a way that's guilt-free, but holy cow. To speak of Chick-fil-A, eat more chicken, eat less Chick-fil-A sauce. That is kind of crazy because it's a small amount. And then I was looking up what's in it. And it is a 1/4 cup honey, 2 tablespoons of yellow mustard, a 1/4 cup of barbecue sauce, a tablespoon of lemon juice, a tablespoon of Dijon mustard, and a 1/2 cup of mayonnaise. So we've got the agent of fat being mayonnaise, in addition to a sugary one with barbecue sauce, in addition to honey. It's kind of like taking every condiment, just like dumping it in a thing and sealing it with foil. I think it's good. I don't live for Chick-fil-A sauce the way other people do. Like, I don't think any of the fast food restaurants that have tiny packages of dressing, I don't think their ranches are up to snuff whatsoever. I don't eat ranch at fast food restaurants. But as it relates to proprietary sauces, Chick-fil-A sauce is one of the highest caliber. I just don't crave it in the same way I do a Wendy's nugget or a McDonald's nugget with honey. But in the event of a party platter, I think it's a perfectly adequate choice. And then it's kind of like, and the reason I bring up the caloric piece is because I like it, but I don't love it. So I probably can do without it because like a buffalo sauce, it's so minimal calorie wise, is going to give me what I need. And actually, if anything at Chick-fil-A, so what I'll do is I'll get the chicken sandwich. I'll take the bun off. I'll pour in the buffalo sauce and the ranch into the foil bag. I will shake the chicken cutlet. I hate that word or whatever. The fried chicken in. I will shake it in the bag with the 2 sauces, and then I will put the bun back on and eat it like it is a proper buffalo chicken sandwich. Otherwise, I do feel that Chick-fil-A is uninspired, and I know people love it. If I had to pick a standout star of Chick-fil-A being like the best, I'm gonna pick the chicken minis in the morning. Those things are good. It's like a soft. I almost said supple. Ugh. It's a delicate cousin of the Hawaiian roll that's a little smaller, a little undercooked, and just has one little nug on it. Comes in a pack of 4. Oh, God, with the sweet tea, there's nothing like it. I think that's where Chick-fil-A thrives. And I know people love it. I never quite felt as inspired by their chicken as many of you do. And I respect you wholeheartedly. It's hard because after McDonald's, Wendy's, Chick-fil-A, as it relates to nuggets specifically, I'm kind of out, like somebody had popcorn chicken at one point that was really not bad. Maybe it was KFC. KFC, Popeyes, Bojangles. I talked about Zaxby's earlier, Hardee's, like these places. I love fried chicken. But as it relates to like the best of the best, as it relates to nuggets, I think that you shouldn't look much farther than the first 3 I mentioned. I actually do think Arby's has decent chicken tenders, but I can't get into Arby's right now because you guys will torch me for essentially calling it, you guys think it's gas station food, which I'm shocked that you would think it's, honestly, I will never not be shocked. I think it's such high quality, carved roast beef. It's a goddamn carvery. It's not a blimpie. But obviously there's like Burger King, but a Burger King, like, let's face it, it's America's backup plan. We're never jonesing for Burger King deliberately. I respect a charbroil. I think more people should charbroil. That's what Hardee's does too. Do Checkers still exist? I'm not really sure. You know, I the milkshakes. What's that milkshake place? Camp Out, Campground, Camp Out, Cooktown, Cookout. They have watermelon milkshakes in the summer or something. That came to Richmond after I moved, and people were really on the Cookout train for a while. I wonder if they still are. Anyways, I'm missing a lot of things. This is just one blind spot after another, and I really shouldn't be coming to you as an authority, and I'm not an authority. I just hope you're borderline entertained, just like even a little. Just like, honestly, if you're even going to unsubscribe, if you've for a moment thought less about the quarantine, I've done my job, I hope. I also made a huge oversight earlier. I think even before like ranch, I think my first foray into sauces had to be Papa John's, right? They are innovators in their own right, including sauce with every single pie and a little table that I honestly thought was like a dollhouse kitchen table, but I guess it's to keep the box from getting on the pizza cheese. They also had that one rogue pepper that some, wild girl at your sleepover would eat as a dare because we all thought it was going to be like a habanero, but it's like a sweet pepper, right? Anyways, their garlic butter sauce was definitely my first foray into dipping. You almost eat the pizza fast to get to the crust so you can dip it, which is genius because normally I would dread the impending doom of a cheeseless crust, but they made us celebrate it, and for that we owe everything to Papa John's. Were they like canceled or Me Too? Now I'm panicked. I feel like something happened to Papa recently. I hope not. But I was a Domino's stan for a long time, but I think kind of like vodka or Ritz Bits, like I just overdid it at one point and now I can't eat it anymore. So I'm back on the Papa John's train, but in Chicago specifically, I will order Jet's 8-corner pizza because their ranch is homemade and outstanding. I'm kind of worried. I just I skipped around it. I mean, there's just a lot of things I like. I mean, to go in alphabetical order, I was Googling list of dips. I'm like, what am I missing? But then it gets into like artichoke dip, and I'm like, well, no shit, I love a spinach artichoke dip. It's the official sponsor of like 2008 to 2012 for me personally. A toasted pita with a spinach artichoke dip. Are you kidding me? I'm in heaven. It's just not something I'm dipping everyday items into that seems readily available. It must be prepared. How do we feel about dipping fries in a malt vinegar at Five Guys? Trust me when I say I love a Five Guys. My dream partnership is something along the lines of like Be There in Five Guys, but the problem is, it's the vibes are like a little more orgy than food based, and that's not the type of fast food I'm going for. So I don't know if it's ever going to work, but I do love their signature item, which is a paper bag absolutely drenched in grease that makes no sense no matter how many times you layer or bag it. But they have that vinegar there, and I only eat it there, but I would never go out of my way to seek malt vinegar for a fry. Just something that interests me. I love a chimichurri. I love a cocktail sauce with a shrimp. I mean, fondue, you can't even, Wikipedia, are you kidding me? You're classifying fondue here? I guess I did talk about queso for roughly 11 minutes earlier. I thought it was 6, but guys, I think I might have been 11. I love a Mexicali dip. Oh, thank God I mentioned au jus. Would have hated to forget that. Ketchup is like, I mean, honestly, I want to know if it's a deal breaker if your date spells it catsup, because I think that's a big deal breaker. And it's one of those like weird alternative spellings that like people say exist, but I don't know anyone who actually uses it. Pimento cheese. Ugh, I love a remoulade. Are you kidding me? Oh, interesting. Yeah. Sorry, now I'm reading about all these different dips and realizing I didn't really venture Eastern Europe into Middle East. Like I talked about tzatziki, but my husband's Lebanese. There's a garlic, like a specific garlic sauce or dip. I don't know what you call it. It's spelled Toum. It's the most pungent, dense, garlicky thing in the entire world, and it is so good. And every time I eat it, I forget that it's not ranch, and I eat it. One like half of a teaspoon is probably like 12 cloves of garlic, and it stays with me for days, and I'm not even mad about it. I love a baba ganoush. I love any and all types of hummus. I love a tahini sauce. My God, now I just want a falafel. I, could really go to town here. But, guys, I hope you enjoyed talking about dips. I feel like I need to reel it in. I had up here notes. I was like, I'm going to read everybody the history of condiments. Does anyone care? If you were wondering, the first condiment was salt. It's always been used as both a preservative to enhance and flavor food, and vinegar has also been used since ancient times. Vin means wine in French, and aiger means sour, hence vinegar. The Romans liked condiments, but they were very into fish sauces. They grew mustard and were one of the first people to introduce it to Europe, as well as mint sauce. Mustard really dominated in the Middle Ages. Middle Ages, big mustard energy. I think that it was more so the 17th, 18th, and beyond when new condiments were invented. That's when we really got pesto throughout Italy, and when France really went in on a bechamel. Chutney comes from India. I have had to make that in like a HelloFresh type order. It is difficult to make. Soy sauce, also a huge fan. Really anything salty. It reached Europe in the 17th century, and it became popular in Britain as well. The first known origins of mayonnaise that we have is a French chef in 1756. There's many stories, a lot of lore about where it comes from, but we do have a first record of hollandaise in the mid-18th century. If you watch Friends, Monica famously distinguished a hollandaise from a béarnaise. Ketchup began as a Chinese fish sauce called ketchup, and the name gradually changed to ketchup because we ruin everything. In Britain, people added other ingredients instead of fish, and in the 18th century is when we first started adding tomatoes. So the original ketchup wasn't really even close to what we have today. Tartar sauce was made in the Middle Ages, but modern tartar sauce was first made in the 1800s, as if that matters. And then in the 19th century with the Industrial Revolution, condiments really began to be mass-produced in factories, and tomato ketchup was a bestseller, and HP sauce was invented at the end of the 19th century, which is something that I've really only seen in the UK. It's kind of like a steak sauce, if I remember right. Meanwhile, Worcester. Okay, so like Worcester, like where Holy Cross is Worcester, Mass. But then Worcestershire. Honestly, I'm getting like a headache. You know when you say something and it like makes you cringe a little? What am I doing? This website just goes, would you also like to learn about the history of biscuits? I'm good, thank you. A brief history of drinks, like liquids? Color me intrigued. I am clicking. The original drink was, of course, water. Adam's ale, as it's sometimes called. Okay, thank you, Captain Obvious. Are you, like, what? Like, okay, what? Yes, Earth. Fire, water, Captain Planet, like we get it. I need to go to bed. But in the Middle Ages, apparently people drank ale, cider, and mead. Wine was the drink of the wealthy. Spoiler alert, still is. Young children drank milk in the 16th century. Water was too dirty to drink. Tough stuff. It honestly is like, this is like reading the lyric booklet for Chumbawamba. It's a whiskey drink, a lager drink, a cider drink, a song that reminds them of the good times, sing a song that reminds them of the better times. I kind of wanted to make a TikTok expressing like me once I go back into a bar after being like sequestered for so long, because I'm always like raging against nightlife because it's just so many things about bars. Like I just hated it in my 20s. But all anybody wanted to do was go to bars and like be seen by boys. But like you can't talk in bars, and I have no value to add to the world to like stand and stare. I wanted to be like talking to people and not frat bros and like Sperry's. I'm abandoning ship. I was just about to tell a really bad story. I gotta go. I said I was gonna keep it under an hour. I hope this was not an insufferable episode. This was really funny to record, and it's about nothing. And I feel like I achieved it. I talked about dips for an hour. And I hope that it was a welcome reprieve from the stresses that we're enduring right now. And all I ask is that you take care of yourself. Don't let, as they say, don't let the sorrow of tomorrow sap today of its joy, right? We just don't know what's going to happen. And I think there's a lot of different opinions floating out there. And I think the thing you have to remember is that when something is unprecedented, it's very hard to adequately predict. I think it is in the favor sometimes to spook people a little bit into action. But if you're already taking action, you're doing the right thing, you're being a great citizen and a community member, And there's not a lot we can do but keep ourselves and our families safe, take care of those around us. If you have, people you use regularly in the service industry, maybe float them the money and for an IOU so they can pay their bills in the meantime. Think of different ways, whether you're getting takeout from local places safely, curbside, be very mindful of anything you come into contact with. I don't know. I just don't want our entire economy to collapse and everybody we rely on to be without any, income. And I don't know. If anybody has suggestions for the best way to go about this while maintaining, safety and sanitation, please advise. But everybody, let's look out for ourselves and each other. And I'm thinking of all of you that are solo in this. I think that there's as much as people joke about being cooped up with their kids and families, I feel like I don't know, I get a little jealous because I wish I was with my parents and my nephews and my niece, and I'm lucky to have Greg and Tugboat. And if you live alone or you're single and you're not in a position where you can keep your circle tight and go visit other people very easily. But anyways, just want you to know I'm thinking of you. I'm thinking of all of you, especially those of you that have had life-altering plans you've had to cancel weddings. I've been trying to lurk some of y'all's registries and send you stuff because I feel so badly. I know how much work and stress and planning and excitement goes into it. And it's just you feel this loss of control. It sucks. It sucks. There's no way around it. And I'm thinking of everybody who is kind of, obviously there's a spectrum of difficulty and challenge as it relates to this. If we're healthy, we have everything, right? But it doesn't also mean we have the nobility to carry on knowing that every minute of every day and every frustration, we don't have that perspective to be like, it could be worse. And that's kind of a nonsensical argument for your mental health because we only know our own experience and pain is pain. And I just want you to know if you're even missing out on something that the world views as shallow. I hear you and I see you. And I'm equally as disappointed with my show and what might turn out to be more stuff that I have planned that I won't get to do. And it does suck. And but it's none of us are really void of this. And if anything, the people still having to go into work, my God, thank you so much to nurses, to doctors, to people that are in anything administrative and social work, that are teachers that are still reporting. There's in the Facebook group, I was asking who's still at work, because I just wanted to be aware of who's out there on the front lines and who doesn't have the luxury of quarantining. And especially as we're complaining, being mindful of people that don't have the luxury of keeping themselves away from, possible contamination. And we're just so grateful to have selfless, qualified, strong people out there keeping us safe and trying to work against what is perhaps the craziest crisis we've lived through, even though we don't even know what the full spectrum of what it looks like. But we will get through this and it will be fine. It always is. In this moment, you are A-okay. I think it's a weird time in life that's scary, sad, and weird and uncertain, but also kind of incredible situation where we've essentially hit pause, almost Zach Morris style, on the world. And it's wow, to stop time as it relates to commerce, the economy, every, school, work, what can we do with this time? And, there's no pressure whatsoever. Watch Netflix, relax if you want to. So many of you work so hard, so much harder than I ever would. And you deserve to zone out and just relax and de-stress. But for some of you that are feeling a little bit restless, I think there's a lot of really interesting ways we could take advantage of this time. And I don't know. I'm excited to see what comes of it. I'll report back. And the next time I podcast, I have a few things lined up. We'll see if I ever get to it. One is I did sanitize my recorder. And I do want to learn blank space. I won't show you that because I respect your ears more than that, which is shocking given that I just did podcast about dipping sauces. But believe it or not, I do still have some semblance of respect for your ears. And we'll see what happens. But anyway, guys, take care of yourselves. Love you so much. Talk soon. And as always, let me know your thoughts and I will let you know mine. I'll be there in 5, I swear.
There must be more than this provincial life. Just watch, I'm going to make Belle my wife. Then she goes a girl strange but special, a most peculiar mademoiselle. It's a pity and a sin, she doesn't quite fit him, but she really is a funny girl.
This episode is brought to you by Cozy Earth, and Cozy Earth's mission is to elevate the everyday through obsessive detail, better materials, the kind of quality that reshapes small moments. And cozy is really my currency. Something satisfying to me in the way maybe for other people like making meals is, per what I said in the earlier ad, it's not really my forte. It's like making a plush luxury guest bed experience is something I'm very passionate about. And I always find that when people stay in my house, they like follow up asking about it and get on the Cozy Earth train. And it really just becomes contagious, because when you sleep on like sheets that you're not too hot, you're not too cold, they are like soft and cozy. They get better with each wash. Like they have the fluffiest, most cozy products, like the cuddle blanket I've told you about with the 2 faux fur sides and like the weightiness of it. I've actually started a game with my son where I put on the cuddle blanket, and mine's like a brown color, and we play Car Mountain, and he hides cars in the mountain and looks for it, and he has fun because, again, this is like such a plush blanket and he loves how it feels. But then I just get to lay down under said blanket and be the mountain. But that's my journey. Anyway, they also have bamboo pajamas that I love and send to people in trying times when I want them to be cozy, new parents. Like they also like the sheets, you're not too hot, not too cold. And they sleep more cool than like cotton pajamas. And it's just something I look forward to slipping into at the end of a long day. They're lightweight, they're cozy, they drape, but they're not too oversized. And it's just like a thoughtful, comfortable gift that everybody unanimously loves when I send it to them. And if you're looking for something special this Valentine's season, look no further than Cozy Earth. They also have long inseams, short inseams, everything in between. 100-night sleep trial, 10-year warranty. It's a great company that makes great products. Can't speak more highly of it. And if you want to share a little extra love this February and wrap yourself or someone you care about in comfort that truly feels special, head to cozyearth.com and use my code BeThereIn5 for up to 20% off. And if you get a free post-purchase survey, be sure to mention you heard about Cozy Earth right here. Celebrate everyday love with comfort that makes the little moments count. This episode is brought to you by Better Wild, and it is wild how in these old episodes you can hear tugboat in the background. And ever since I've, upgraded my insulation for my room so you can't hear it. However, he's perhaps gotten more wild as he ages, because this guy is making all the noise all the time to the point where it's keeping us up at night, and it's kind of a problem, but I do believe life's too short to not sleep with your dog. Anyway, you guys know the drill. If you have an aging dog, a dog with allergies, like the licking, the gnawing, the hot spots, the like ear infections, like those aren't normal dog behaviors, and apparently they're signs of allergies. And if your dog tends to like itch and scratch and rub and lick their paws or shake their head or eat grass or have itchy ears or whatever, apparently allergies in dogs flare up when bad bacteria takes over the gut, because 90% of your dog's immune system lives in the gut. And just like, humans, dogs also need probiotics or good bacteria to strengthen their gut health and calm an overactive immune system. So Better Wild, they have these allergy relief soft chews. Your dog will think they're a treat, but they're actually a supplement designed to support your pet's allergy defense system by strengthening their digestion. And they have something called Ancestral Advantage Wolf Probiotics derived from, your dog's mighty ancestor to help restore a healthy balance of good bacteria. It's a blend of something called L-Saccii, which is a postbiotic, and it also has, which is derived from kimchi. It's clinically proven to reduce itchiness and redness in 2 months of daily use. Colostrum to boost immune function and fight inflammation. Salmon oil to support healthy skin and fur. And overall, I just felt a little helpless not knowing what to do when he was having so many issues. And it just really made a difference in my sweet boy's life. And I know so many of you care about your dogs as well. And Better Wild is committed to helping your dogs with science-backed, veterinarian-approved solutions that you can feel great about. And right now, Better Wild is offering our listeners up to 40% off your order at betterwild.com/BeThereIn5. That's betterwild.com/BeThereIn5 for up to 40% off your order. betterwild.com/BeThereIn5.
All right. Listen, guys. First of all, did I stutter? Guys, this one was hard for me. I had to really pep myself up, tell myself it was going to be okay. I wanted to crawl into my shell even thinking about this. But when I tell you I'm shocked, I am floored, I'm moved. I agree with absolutely everything I said. I'm not wrong on any front. And even though I qualify my opinions as being subjective in the episode to spare you of your feelings, I think they are near perfect, and I won't be taking any questions. And you guys know, here at the Be There in 5 podcast, I rarely stand on business. I tap dance on business at best. I don't want to alienate. I can usually see your side. But that's Kate of the Be There in 5 podcast, not Kate, the famed hypothetical 2010s blogger of the blog Dressing on the Side. that doesn't see your side, that takes no prisoners, that is very inflexible in her beliefs and her convictions. And if you think Ken's Ranch tastes better than food service from the spice packet, I cannot help you as a person. 10 out of 10, no notes. This is supposed to be a director's cut. But do I cut it off here and say that this subject easily goes rancid? But commentary weirdly stands the test of time. Sure, the irony of the outro, I'm like, oh, this is about Belle. So funny. The words are like, look, there she goes. That girl is so peculiar. I wonder if she's feeling well. Yeah, same. But the call's coming from inside the house, but not the house dressing. Clearly I don't fuck with vinegar-based dressings. That was like mostly about ranch. That is like my perspective on life. Like the world is but a dipping sauce and everything else is just a vehicle of transport. That's how I view like the category of food in its entirety. I feel the exact same way about almost everything. I even went to the grocery store yesterday. I picked up 2 yogurts, cheese sticks, not string, Ziploc bags, 2 sizes, and Herdez Salsa Verde. It was the last one. There was a million sauces in the international food section, but the Herdez Salsa Verde is elite, and it's you have to like reach into the depths of the back of the shelf, where I'm certain somebody's like going to grab my hand and pull me in. You know when you like reach too far back into like milk archives and you see like a human being, it's like so scary. Also, Ballerina Farm, oh, selling raw milk, oh, it has bacteria. Can you imagine? If you've been buying your milk from Ballerina Farm, just a heads. Spoiler alert, literally. Spoiled milk alert. There's been traces of bacteria found. They've had to halt their sales of raw milk. And I never saw it coming. I never did. Never did. It's almost like there's got to be a better way, you know? Like, what, do you heat it? Like, that would be crazy. That'd be so simple. Listen, Louis Pasteur, rolling over in his grave. This process known as pasteurization to kill bacteria, really effective. And it really is so crazy to be so obsessed with like ancestral, like food farm origins that are so divorced from reality that you forget your ancestors had a short shelf life, much like your milk, because they died of preventable diseases at 26. I did laugh at gal meat salmon. And, you know, now we have gal meat salmonella in terms of a blogger actively selling bacteria. The idea of this episode is so embarrassing to me that I didn't think about how, regardless of the concept of doing this episode and it being out there for people to come into contact with as like a first, you know, touch point of my body of work, the content itself, it's kind of interesting. Like most any episode I can listen to and there's something I would change about it that I feel differently. I'm like, that's too hot of a take. I don't think these takes were hot enough. 6 years later, I have a lot less time and I have a little more money, and trends change, rumors fly through the new skies. But I'm right where you left me, making salad dressing related decisions, to the point where I've not paid $600 annually because I like the dressing at the United Club, which is a disgusting salad bar full of the worst kind of germs. People that have come on and off planes. People let their children go to salad bars. People don't change their plates. But I just think the airport experience is a lot more enjoyable with some iceberg lettuce and ranch before a flight. Speaking of, I need to check into a flight. Guys, United Clubs are too crowded. I don't need to get into it. I didn't fly as much last year and I lost my status. And now it's not letting me get Economy Plus until 24 hours before. And if there's something I do not fuck around with in addition to sauces, it is like room. And it usually results in me buying a heinously pricey upgrade I justify in the moment because my Hermes unboxing is the accumulated dollar amount of comfort at every turn. But to my credit, I knew that episode was going to be weird and I wanted it to be worth your time. And I thought it was interesting to go into the history of things. I thought it was a very sensible way to explain the birds and the bees with the mommy and the daddy of the garlic aioli, the mayonnaise and the garlic. However, that's actually not entirely accurate, so I guess I should backpedal. If we're fact-checking here, I have expanded my knowledge since then. And I like what Americans call aioli, like at restaurants, which is what I'm talking about here, not homemade stuff. It's like mayo with other flavors, like mayo plus garlic, mayo plus sriracha, mayo plus lemon, or whatever the hell else. Like a traditional aioli in like France, all roads lead back to France. I'm talking about American fast food, I guess. It's like an emulsion of like garlic and olive oil. I don't even think there's eggs in it. So traditional aioli is not mayo-based, to be clear. But the type of aiolis you and I likely come into contact with, dear Beth, unfortunately, it's probably just mayonnaise mixed with something. Okay, did I talk about truffle-flavored things, I think? I can't remember. It was something I was in Europe with my family and became privy to, like a lot of those truffle tours, like being a racket. And they like bury surface level truffles and have the pigs go find them, or the boars or whatever, and the people go wild. They pay for these tours, they eat the truffles, and apparently like a lot of like stuff in the US that's truffle flavored, it's like a chemical compound. It's not actual truffle. It's a synthetic flavoring that mimics the aroma, and maybe a trace for legal labeling purposes, but more often than not, it's like it effectively to me sounded like spraying Febreze on French fries in ways that like it's not that appetizing to me anymore. Sorry to ruin truffle for you guys. And far be it from me to argue that this synthetic compound isn't great when my favorite salsa in the world comes from a place in Richmond, Virginia, who does actively make it in a Rubbermaid garbage can because they go through so much of it. But I think that's how Panera's mac and cheese is made. So sometimes God's gifts come in unexpected packages. And I think for me, it's just like everybody knows and everybody will make fun of like a watery queso at like a, you know, not super authentic Mexican restaurant for what it is, like melted Land O'Lakes white American singles. And if you're lucky, and I say lucky, but it should be a right, not a privilege, it'll have pickled jalapenos and some like diced green chilies in it and, you know, some flavor, some spice. But even like, I find it, this is what frustrates me about the Midwest is like, they don't even do that. What are some specific notes I took? Okay, I did a pre-show disclaimer, which is also interesting. I almost anticipating, like, part of me wonders if I added that later or something. Like, I knew it was a weird episode, and I remember feeling scared that was going to be the first one people listen to. But I think, like, what actually happened, because this was literally when the world slowed down. And it just became a point of contact for a lot of people that made me feel really uncomfortable about it. And I should have just maybe gone back and listened. But when I did for that live show, to get some clips, I only listened to the part where I'm, you know, climaxing about like, I want a cheese so watery, like, whoa. And listen, where's the lie? My nipples still got a little hard listening to it. That kind of queso just like reigns above all else. Speaking of making it rain, was I surprised to hear myself make a Yosemite reference in passing with Bridalveil Falls? Yeah, I was. I did end up learning blank space on the recorder, and dabbling in the recorder during COVID is why I was able to take so swimmingly this past Christmas, if you saw on Instagram, to playing My Heart Will Go On the Irish tin whistle. I want to follow up on Alton Brown suggesting a dip is defined on its ability to maintain contact with its transport mechanism over 3 feet of white carpet. Where did I read that? Also, like, I don't think anybody enjoys recapping or even referring to COVID, but it's interesting hearing myself talk about it that early on. A, I called it coronavirus, which feels retro. B, wow, blast from the past terminology I never needed to hear again, flatten the curve. Though I still believe in what I said, because at the time, I don't even think we were like in conspiracy zone then. Like, regardless of like how it started, what happened, what we were or weren't being told, like, it wasn't unique to America. Remember how bad Italy was at first? Like, this thing was contagious. People were dying. I think everybody was like waiting and seeing what was going to happen. And in the meantime, instead of like, say, you know, for certain that it's an overreaction and this, that, and the other, I'm going to go outside anyway. Fuck all y'all. Don't infringe on my freedoms. I think like most of us were like, well, if it means less crowded hospitals, if it means like not overwhelming our medical system, if it means keeping people safer, yeah, I'm going to sit this one out these next few weeks and just like do as I'm told. Cause like, regardless of like, yeah, the underlying situation going on, which like does matter and people deserve to know what was going on. Like at that time, I think we were all like scared and confused, and it was literally unprecedented. And I just could not understand why people wouldn't stay the fucking side for just like a minute. And who knows, like if like people had really, really complied, if it wouldn't have prolonged, who knows? Like looking back on all of that, I think there's just was so much we didn't know, and I don't know who knew what, that of course you like could have, would have, should have done things differently. But I think I even said this, like I didn't want to, like it sounded like a lecture, but like I never know. Like I asserted that I wanted this to be an escape, but it's also like when shit's going down, sometimes like it feels weirder in real time to ignore it when you have a platform. But it's stuff like this where I'm like, this is why sometimes it's better to like speak about stuff going on Instagram and just to like have this catalog be evergreen. Because now it's like, I don't want to listen to 5 minutes of somebody talking about coronavirus and flattening the curve. You know, it kind of like it impacts the relevance of your catalog in a way that I kind of want to like lift out sometimes. But like, yeah, I just remember hearing from a lot of you, and like that was a really lonely time for a lot of people. That was like because you didn't want to like infect or endanger your loved ones, and you know we weren't like leaving our cities and going home unless you're Taza. Like, yeah, if you're single, if you like live alone and need human interaction and are more of an extrovert, like I felt so bad for my friends that were extroverts. Like it was interesting seeing them be down in like a really real way that I maybe haven't before in other parts of life, where they're able to like get their energy like outside of their normal surroundings. I like having a toddler now, you guys. My God, I cannot comprehend what that must have been like for pregnant people, for people giving birth, for people with toddlers, for people really with kids of any age, for people with teenagers, for people with kids who lost out on like core years of their lives. My God, I feel like as millennials, it's like kind of crazy when you think about like how that timing hit, I think, in how for a lot of us that timing hit, like our leading up to our core child rearing years. Like I'm still so pissed that those are 2 years I'll never get back before I had a kid. And now like, yeah, there's less flexibility. And back then the world was my dipping sauce. And I also like, I had so much momentum with like touring. And I think I would have done like really been in the live show circuit because I was loving telling jokes about Pinterest and comedy clubs. And like, it's like in some ways it was nice that people, like in some ways, like, you know, I feel bad saying that like more people found this show because of COVID and like having the time to listen to me. But I also think like my career would have been like different in ways that I'll always wonder, but I think we'll always wonder about that time. And it's funny. I remember like those of you that had weddings that were canceled, like I felt bad for you guys because people were like, oh, boo hoo, your wedding's canceled, your engagement party's canceled, at least you're alive. And like, I hate shit like that over like, it forces perspective on you in a way that's like not necessary in that moment and completely dismisses like a very real and valid human disappointment. And you guys were talking about in the Facebook group, and I would go and like search for your registries, but it's kind of hard to find registries. Like if your name's Brittany Johnson or something, you know, and like some of you I heard from, others I didn't, which is fine, by the way. You know how I feel about thank you note culture. But the one time I will say it helps is when you're like, you know, wanting to know if somebody got something. But I think there's probably a lot of gals out there, you know, named like Ashley, Emily, Nicole, Stephanie, and Amanda, who like one day received some, not all of their stemware, like a bagel slicer in 3 table settings from either just a random person named Beth with no last name or a podcaster from a show they don't listen to. If you don't have a public Facebook, I couldn't pin down what your fiance's name was. I could have just asked, but then that's not fun. Anyways, I just like now it's like I've blocked so much out about that time, but it was interesting what we were all like doing in the beginning and how we were trying to like stay connected and how many weird feelings were associated with like the way we responded to our own disappointments and like people just being kind of dicks about it. I also like, it's funny how much you can hear tugboat in the background. That in my old loft, that was like a big problem. I mean, he's so sweet, but now I have more, insulation to prevent that noise and noise in general. But that was a smaller place that was tough to podcast from those years when we were stuck inside and like have my spouse not be able to really like make noise nearby. The only thing missing from that, like I feel like I could have included more like Trader Joe's sauces. I you know, people go wild for their green goddess dressing. Their ranch is a little too dilly for me, and the shelf stability of anything at Trader Joe's is a nightmare. But the way I eat their chili, is it the chili garlic onion crisp, the chili crisp? I put it on literally everything I eat. It is outstanding. I don't know, does that count as a sauce? Trader Joe's also, since I'm very buffalo forward, though I actually think I've pumped the brakes a bit. When they first came out with that buffalo chicken dip, I was so obsessed with it and talked about it so much. At one point, it was sold out in my local Chicagoland store. Was it because of me? I don't know. I don't move industries. But it got to a place where I started to actively gatekeep my favorite dips because I was slightly concerned. I'm actively gatekeeping a spray tan place I think is outstanding in Chicago. I need to be able to get an appointment, but I want them to succeed too. Maybe I'll share it eventually. I also do think now, like, we, the people, are very everything with the bagel seasoning for it. I mean, that had more of its time, and now people don't talk about it as much, but that was outstanding, even though it's not a sauce. I like to make my own dip by mixing their, like, pre-cooked lentils, their bruschetta, and feta cheese. Very easy dip to make for a company that kind of looks weird, but is pretty good. I like their garlic spread. I like their tahini. People love the caramelized onion dip, and that's not my favorite. I've been meaning to try the Caesar salad dip. I hear good things. People love blue cheese pecan. Their pimento cheese dip is good too, though it's kind of like surprisingly spicy sometimes. And I'm surprised I didn't bring up spinach artichoke dip because the way that permeated American restaurants in the like mid to late aughts in the same way like flatbreads did post-recession. Like spinach artichoke dip, I remember feeling wild, like eating it because I was kind of a pickier eater at the time. I remember the first time at a Costco, I had a sample of ravioli stuffed with like spinach and ricotta. I was like, damn, adventurous much? Like this is a wild thing that I just ate, like a green vegetable inside of a pasta. And I feel like they still sell that to this day, and it's like pretty good. I guess I don't feel like passionately about many of them except for the buffalo dip, and I overdid it. But I like all of them, you know, like I like the elote dip. I actually don't think their white queso dip is that good, but also it's a sauce that is on the dumplings, but it's more of a dumpling bake. That look up viral Trader Joe's dumpling bake where you mix their red curry with coconut milk with soyaki sauce and whatever gyoza or dumplings you like, and it's really good. And I do love a Kewpie mayo, which I do think a lot of people got more familiar with because of Emily Mariko. Even though that sounds silly, I really do think like she mainstreamed it, and because I couldn't find it for a while. Do you remember like when we were eating leftover salmon and rice like Emily Mariko? That's crazy because I don't always feel comfortable making fish in my own home. I don't trust myself enough. I didn't catch myself talking about Benihana, and I do feel very strongly about the like ginger sauce and the like yum yum style sauce at a Benihana in a big way, or really any hibachi place. But I guess I don't get hibachi all that often. And I did try to go for my birthday. We took Teddy. I thought it'd be fun. I feel like I always see videos of toddlers having cute reactions to hibachi. Scream cried louder than like his first moments on earth when he came out of me, and baby's like blood curdling scream because they're like cold and they're like, where am I? Worse at a hibachi restaurant. I felt so bad. I was like Googling if I traumatized him. I thought about asking his pediatrician. I did not think in front of a baby they would like do the like, you know how sometimes when you get to hibachi, they will like pour the oil and do like the giant like flame thing. I thought they'd maybe tone it down, but I think they thought they'd take it up a notch. I've never seen such a big flame on a hibachi table. We were only 2 people at our U-shaped table, which is also kind of depressing. And then it was also weird because I felt like I felt bad for our hibachi artist because like Teddy wasn't really reacting to the onion volcanoes, to the choo-choo train, to the heartbeat in the rice. And so I felt the need to overcompensate. So he, you know, a performer needs an audience, and I didn't want to be a bad one. It was a whole thing. We left early. I didn't even get into hummus, did I? If you live in Chicago, the only hummus that exists, the only one that matters is at Middle Eastern Bakery on Foster, in my opinion. And also, that's not something I think about a lot, but I'm not wrong that like it's insane to act like we should spell ketchup as ketchup or catsup, like to be inclusive for people that spell it catsup, because literally nobody spells it catsup. Do you spell it catsup? That's such weird behavior. If somebody spelled ketchup catsup, I'd be like, oh my God, you've been kidnapped. Oh my God, am I being catfished? You're not well. It's really weird behavior. And I just think it's funny that growing up, like that spelling of catsup was so circulated as if it was something as if it was like an inclusivity effort for catsup spellers. And I just simply don't think there's a place for them at the table. Anyway, you guys, that was interesting. That was fun. I was like dreading it and expecting to cringe. And like I did, but not in a bad way. In a way that like I stand by and I'm proud of always being quite earnest about what I'm saying. And as I said to my unborn son at the time in the acknowledgments of one in a millennial, like I really do think if you cringe, it means you're doing it right. Maybe we all operate in real time with a level of earnestness that it'll give you anxiety sweats at a future time, only to return to it and realize it wasn't so bad because it's what you wanted to be doing or saying or wearing or whatever. Like, I don't know. This exercise I think is helping me a bit. And I do think like as a mother, I will proudly one day share with my son the Aioli Spirit. I got to get Teddy into dipping sauces more. He loves hummus, but he doesn't want ketchup with nuggets right now, which is a concerning early sign of a picky eater. And I don't push, I don't pry. I've let him eat them dry. But now I'm like, I don't want him to be robbed of 13 years of sauce like I was until that fateful day at the spaghetti warehouse. I remember it so vividly. And I feel like there's a lot of food groups I could probably do full episodes about. And I'd be lying if I said I haven't considered doing full episodes about soups. I love soups. I guess I like liquid food. I don't know. Thank you guys for encouraging me. This was the most voted for one on Instagram. And at first I did think it sounded like sabotage, but now I think you guys, you wanted to appreciate where we came from. We've come a long way, but where we came from isn't so bad either. And I think this long form show, like we have spent quality time together. And I think that some of those more vulnerable eras, I think it's probably memorable because of the subject matter, but also I think a lot of the episodes too that people really remember, they were kind of in like vulnerable eras for different reasons. I saw somebody on TikTok last night, this is so random, reviewing this like parable. It's the one about the strawberry and the tigers. Like a man's being chased by a tiger. He runs to the edge of the cliff. He starts climbing down to a vine and he sees another tiger below him. There's one like chasing him. And he notices mice on the vine and one's white and one's black. I think one's day and night and it like represents the passage of time. And they're gnawing at this vine he's clinging to. And there's a wild strawberry growing, I think on the vine or something. And he, takes it and he eats it. And the punchline is like how sweet it tasted. And the like meaning like there's danger above with a tiger, danger below other tiger. There's inevitable doom. And I think the mice are like eating the vine and representing like time running out. And like in spite of all that, he found this moment of presence and sweetness. And like it's kind of a parable of finding like joy and sweetness and presence in the moment that often feels like a source of presence shaming, which is tough for parents. I mean, listen, you're going to miss this. No, I'm not. I'm good. I'm all, you're forever wrestling, especially as a parent, how like sweet and exhausting it is. And like, looking forward to getting out of a phase, but like also wanting to savor every moment, and the guilt you feel imposed on yourself from like even feeling that way can be frustrating. So sometimes I don't like presence parables, but I do feel like this is like a cornerstone of my work that I'm proud of and that I always want to do, which is like find genuine joy and meaning in things that are like literally trivial, that are literally ridiculous. And, you know, like when things are chaotic and scary, like taking a minute to stop and like really like diagnose the beauty and deliciousness of a runny queso, I think was warranted in that moment. I think that was us eating the strawberry when we don't know what else to do. Like there's danger behind us, there's danger ahead. Like this is all really overwhelming to assess right now, but this right here can be sweet, if only for a moment. And the beauty of being lost in something that to everyone else might be trivial. I don't know. I think that this just reminded me like the importance of finding the strawberry while the tigers circle for myself, for you guys, and not apologizing for it.
Thank you for encouraging me to revisit this. It's like, I feel like this is too much commentary about an episode that by and large is simple and I really do not have notes for. But it's also kind of like, I think that what's interesting about it, if I were to do a director's cut, like analysis that's more like high level and, what's the word? You know, like you analyze the deeper meaning of something beyond what the content is itself. I think the kind of deeper meaning I walked away with, like per the strawberry of it all, is like, this is the whole point of the show. Like, this isn't the episode that like I needed to be the most embarrassed by. This was like a really, really hard time in the world, in our lives, and in our sense of like stability and comfort. And I think that this is exactly why I do what I do and what I think I can be good at when I'm not overly self-conscious. And I think that like sometimes you can get caught up in the words and the content more so than like kind of the bigger picture of what something is. Like I always tell you guys, it's like I'm in the business of keeping people company. And I think that was like, I think that like we are in a really awful time right now. And like, since I hadn't heard it in so long, I think I got to have the experience of like listening to something and escaping the way you guys might, but that I usually don't get because I'm editing and like being, you know, like hard on myself and like, you know, trying to not be annoying. But it was fun to like actually understand maybe the escape factor of it, because I'd forgotten what was in it and I just really kind of got lost in it. And it was nice for me to get to experience it almost as a listener and not feel as self-conscious about it on the back end. Because when I tell you that this like mortified me, it like really did. And now I'm like, why? I almost think if I had just listened to it, it would have been fine. But I'm almost curious, what I was saying earlier, like that I experience sometimes in passing, I think it applies to other careers too, where, you know, when you're like, yeah, like I'm confident and passionate about my work. I'm sure many of you are too. Like I could talk circles around somebody that was actually trying to have like a discussion about my work. Like I will outmaneuver you. I could verbally accost you. Like I could, if you wanted me to justify what this is and how well it's done, I got you, but I'm not going to because I'm at a baptism. If you guys ever feel like people will approach you and like, because they're almost like threatened by not understanding what you do. So it manifests in a way that they like don't respect what you do, or they like challenge you or combative or want to pose as knowing more than you, like a subject matter expert, or like, I don't know. It's like these interactions are meaningless and stupid, and this is not what we do our work for. But the way that the way that like people perceive your work, or you feel like you constantly have to talk about or justify your work to other people, can wear on you, even if you are like by and large confident about it. Maybe a conversation for a different day, but it's like not that big of a deal. But it also is interesting when I notice that like my perception of something has become so far removed from the work itself and more about my weird interactions involving it, that my like memory of something is not even accurate anymore. Like there's been a lot of episodes like that. I think that's something people don't talk about a lot, is when you're speaking vulnerably publicly to people, how it impacts your immediate life and the people in it that like don't agree with it or don't like it, or I don't know, like I think some of my best work sometimes has been hard in that way. Like Childless Millennial, I think, is shockingly one of like the biggest episodes of my entire career that I know means a lot to people, but it's also like that part of it's invisible to me in a sense. So it's so meaningful to me that episode mattered to people. But my experience with that episode, to me now, is more defined by how many uncomfortable conversations I had in person about it with people that didn't agree with it or felt like it was like offensive in some way, or like couldn't believe I was saying, things that my future kids could hear. I didn't know I wanted them or not, or like I just have had or like even friends that were having trouble at the time, which I eventually found myself in, or, really felt so certain about their choice either way that they almost found my uncertainty like irritating. It's just interesting to think about how like my impression of something becomes way more about those interactions that are invisible to you guys. Meanwhile, I don't have visibility into how you actually feel about it. And it makes me have this really warped perception of some of this stuff. And I don't know. Just an interesting thing I'm thinking about, as I make these episodes. I think that I maybe have been at a bit of like not a turning point, but I'm just trying to figure out the next phase of this. And I thought it was not going to be good for me to revisit some of this stuff, but I think I'm realizing it's helping me reconnect with the point of it all, Thank you for helping this mother feel proud to share this work with her son, who I will now be encouraging to eat more dips because he's really resistant to even ketchup, which is a sign of picky eating that I'm not okay with. And I don't want him to miss out on 13 years of sauces like I did before that fateful day at the spaghetti warehouse, So yeah, I feel actually now it's my duty for my son to hear the Aioli Spirit. So on behalf of this mother, her son, and the Aioli Spirit, I too appreciate you for encouraging me to re-listen to this and to rediscover the value and not be like embarrassed of or ashamed of what one day he might find out about me, which is that my favorite salsa is made in a Rubbermaid trash can, which, is fine because just like the point of this episode, just like the point of that salsa, and its unnecessarily large container, sometimes the least likely things are actually that deep and it matters. And you guys always remind me of why I was ever here in the first place and what's so important to get back to in these trying times, which is finding the strawberry, finding the distraction, taking the shit entree we're dealt with and dipping it in something a little better, if only for a moment. And I will carry that with me going forward this week. And I hope you do too. And I hope you had a great weekend, have a great week, are having some good dips watching the Super Bowl. I do not know who's playing, but I'm excited for Bad Bunny. And other than that, just call 775-HEY-BETH if you want to leave a voicemail, or you can also send a text message. Sometimes I respond when my computer just wanted to chit-chat, need a follow-up question, or Courtney responds. Because I also want you to tell me what's going on in the world that like I need to catch up on when I do come back and do a more current episode. And yeah, rate and review 5 stars if you feel like it. Tell a friend. You know the drill. But thank you for the privilege of your time. As always, let me know your thoughts and I'll let you know mine. I'll be there in 5, I swear.